You know, if there's one thing that I think really unites every single one of us, it's this constant struggle to manage our energy. And I don't just mean, physical energy.
No, it's much deeper than that.
It's the mental, the emotional reserves. We're often just running on fumes by the middle of the week, and we're always asking why.
Right.
What if the reason we feel so drained wasn't just, external stress, but an internal sort of fundamental energetic deficit? One that's built right into how we operate our own minds.
That's the exact premise of the sources we are unpacking today. Really fascinating stuff.
Okay.
We're diving into the work of Ron W Rathbun, who outlines a very, very specific system for mind-body healing. And it uses a technique called the Kelee.
The Kelee.
That's right.
So our mission today is to find really a shortcut to understanding the mind's true anatomy, at least according to this research. Because these sources don't just propose that most of us are operating in a deficit, they go further. They define specific physical locations and mechanisms causing that drain.
They're trying to give you a map.
Exactly. A map to what the research promises is unlimited energy.
And what makes this material really stand out, I think, is that it takes this abstract idea of mind and it anchors it to verifiable anatomy.
Okay, so it's not just philosophy.
Not at all. It shifts the conversation away from general ideas and into specific brain functions. It establishes like an energy economics model for our own consciousness.
I like that, energy economics.
It's a great way to put it. If you're constantly tired, this research suggests there's a very specific, fixable, and electrochemical reason why.
Okay, let's unpack this then. To start, the research says everyone has 3 distinct parts associated with themselves,
Right.
but only 2 are generally active in our daily lives. So what are these 3 foundational components?
So the 3 parts are defined as the ego, the intellect, and the mind.
Ego, intellect, and mind.
Yep. They're meant to function as a complete system, but the sources argue that societal learning has only really equipped us to use the first 2.
And to use them badly, it sounds like?
And to use them very badly.
So the sources claim that most of us are taught to work unconsciously with ego and intellect. We use them, but we have no idea what the cost is.
Precisely.
But why is this relationship unconscious? Is it just because we don't know where they physically reside? Is that the core of it?
Is the core of it, exactly. And this is where the source material makes this massive distinction that really moves beyond metaphor.
Okay.
It specifies the physical geography of what it calls the lesser Kelee. These are the known locations of these 2 parts that are just running our lives on autopilot.
Wait a second. Placing the ego and the intellect in specific physical locations? That's huge. What's the rationale there? That moves it beyond just a psychological concept into functional anatomy.
It does. Because the locations define the function, and the function then defines the energy usage. It's a chain reaction.
I see.
So the sources specify that the ego resides in the brainstem.
The brainstem, the most primitive part of the brain.
The most primitive part. And if you think about what the brainstem does, it handles basic, instantaneous survival functions, fight or flight.
Action, reaction.
Exactly. The ego's behavior is reactive, so it fits perfectly in that primal core location.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the other part that's always running? The intellect.
The intellect resides in both hemispheres of the brain.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. This is the seat of, calculation, language, reference, memory, all that processing.
So you've got the reactive ego in this primal core, and then the calculating intellect spanning basically the rest of the brain.
That's the setup. And these are the 2 anchors that, according to the sources, operate largely outside of our conscious management.
So, okay, we have the ego in the brainstem, the intellect in the hemispheres, running the whole daily show. What is the immediate fundamental consequence of this unconscious operation on our vitality?
This is the critical insight, really. Both the ego and the intellect are associated with chemistry.
Right.
And critically, they take more energy than they give to us.
So they're a net negative.
A huge net negative. The moment they become your primary operators, you are by definition in a deficit lifestyle. They are energy sinks, just constantly drawing down your reserves.
If they're energy sinks, does the research define the specific ways they do that? I mean, does the ego drain energy differently than the intellect?
Oh, absolutely. They collaborate in depleting you, but their mechanisms are very distinct. The sources are so precise about this.
Okay.
The ego operates via action-reaction.
Action-reaction.
It's perpetually just responding to stimuli.
Yeah.
A perceived slight from someone, a demanding email, a siren going off outside. It forces an immediate and often totally unnecessary emotional or physical response.
I can easily see how that drains us. I
Yeah.
mean, if you get road rage or you spend an hour arguing with strangers online,
Right.
that immediate chemical action-reaction loop,
Yeah.
it takes a huge toll.
It does. That instantaneous response requires immense, rapid electrochemical activity right there in the brainstem area.
Mm-hmm.
But the intellect's mechanism of loss is, I think, even more pervasive.
Why? Because it's quieter?
Because it's quieter. It's more insidious. The intellect operates via a comparison-based way of living.
The comparison engine. Wow, that's truly invisible until someone points it out to you.
It is. It's this constant measurement. Comparing your productivity to a coworker's, comparing your life to what you see on social media, continuously judging your past decisions.
All of that takes energy.
It requires immense energy. The brain has to pull memory. It has to execute these continuous measurement calculations, and then it has to generate the associated stress chemistry.
That's the real drain.
That is the true electrochemical drain of the intellect.
Wow. So that combined effort, the ego's constant reactive firing plus the intellect's perpetual measuring, it just sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It's like a full-time, unpaid job just running in the background of your mind.
It is. And the sources state that this combined effort takes so much energy that it forces the body into living in a state of deficit energy usage.
A constant deficit.
A constant deficit. This is why people often feel this profound mental and physical fatigue, even when they haven't, lifted a finger all day.
Right.
They're metabolically bankrupt from managing the unconscious ego and intellect.
Essentially, the standard way we're all taught to live just means we are fundamentally depleting ourselves.
That's the thesis.
So the question then becomes, if the ego and intellect are draining us, what about the third part, the mind? The sources have to describe this third component as the key to reversing this, right?
This raises the most important question, and the research tackles it head-on. The mind is described as being associated with itself because it possesses this unique capability.
Which is?
Self-understanding.
Self-understanding.
This is the key distinction from the reactive ego or the comparative intellect. And most importantly, the mind actually has an unlimited form of energy.
Okay, that sounds almost too good to be true. If this unlimited energy source is there, associated with the mind, what's blocking our access to it right now? Is it just habit? Or is it a physical barrier that's created by the dominance of the ego and the intellect?
It's the sheer dominance of those lower two parts. Until we can consciously open to the mind, we just remain trapped. We're unconsciously living in this mind-body association, stuck in that deficit lifestyle.
So the ego and intellect are just running the show unchallenged.
Exactly. We know the unlimited energy is there, but we lack the conscious access point. The signal of the mind is being completely drowned out by the noise of comparison and reaction.
So how do we consciously open that pathway? This must be where the specific technique comes in.
Exactly. Kelee meditation, again, Kelee, is presented as the technique designed specifically to consciously open to this third point of unlimited energy.
So it's not generic relaxation.
No, it's a structural method. It's designed for shifting consciousness away from the parts that cause the deficit.
And the goal isn't just to feel better for an hour after you meditate.
Yeah.
What's the profound long-term objective of this practice?
The goal is to assist in healing. Healing associated with the body, the brainstem, and the brain itself, to ensure the ego and intellect are not running in deficit on a daily level in our lives. It's teaching you how to open this gateway of healing so you can learn to continue to live and not run in a deficit life experience.
So it's a permanent recalibration of your energetic operating system.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
The source material really emphasizes that Kelee meditation is more than just a technique. It's a profoundly deep understanding of the mind-body connection that allows for this recalibration. So let's talk about self-care. It's a term we hear constantly. The research defines the origin of care very, very specifically.
It does, and this is a huge point. We often try to do self-care, take a break, get a massage.
The actions of self-care.
The actions, exactly. But the sources argue that one of the most important things anyone can learn is that the origin of the capability for care, it's actually found in the mind itself.
That is a significant distinction. We confuse the act of self-preservation with the actual capacity for care. Can you help us distinguish between that basic instinctual care and this essential care in the mind?
Think of it this way. We all have an instinctual care for self-preservation.
Right.
This is likely tied directly to the ego, back in the brainstem. It makes you duck when a ball is thrown at you or react quickly to danger.
That's just survival.
That's survival. But care in the mind, that's deeper. It's the essential capability that allows you to be patient with yourself, to consciously build a supportive environment, to apply kindness to your own thoughts.
Instead of letting that instinctual reactive ego just dominate your emotional life.
Exactly.
And without cultivating that deeper essential care in the mind, the consequence is that the unconscious deficit lifestyle just runs unchecked.
Precisely. Without care in the mind, you end up living in what the sources call an uncaring lifestyle.
And that's detrimental to your health.
Detrimental to your overall well-being and health. It's an inability to extend that essential foundational care into the full mind-body connection.
Okay, let's pivot to the validation of this system.
Yeah.
Because if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just being presented as a personal practice.
No, not at all.
The source material validates that this system has been integrated into professional medicine.
And this is a huge point of credibility. In medicine, this structured system is referred to as the Anatomy of the Kelee.
The Anatomy of the Kelee.
Yes. This means healthcare professionals are studying the anatomical mapping of the ego, intellect, and mind, not as concepts,
Right.
but as defined functional entities.
And what specifically about the medical community's adoption? I mean, the AMA approval is massive.
It's huge.
Why is the American Medical Association interested in a specific form of meditation related to the brainstem and hemispheres?
Well, it speaks to measurable outcomes. The sources confirm this work has been taught in medical school for over 10 years, which demonstrates its functional reliability.
Okay.
But the AMA approval is key. It's been approved for an on-demand course for medical professionals. This suggests the research shows specific, repeatable impacts.
On what, though?
On measurable physiological markers, like stress hormone levels, autonomic nervous system response, and potentially the impact of this chronic deficit energy usage on the body.
So medical professionals are learning this system because it offers a practical, structured way to address stress and energy depletion in their patients.
Yes.
Issues that often present as purely physical ailments, but have their roots in the unconscious operation of the ego and the intellect.
Exactly. It's an endorsement that places this system directly in the hands of healthcare providers as a non-pharmacological anatomical tool for healing.
It really elevates Kelee meditation from a general wellness practice to a defined method for energetic and chemical rebalancing.
That's the idea.
This has been a profoundly practical deep dive. Let's just summarize the map we've uncovered here.
Okay.
The default unconscious life is chemically and energetically defined by two draining forces. The ego, which causes action-reaction in the brainstem, and the intellect, which causes comparison-based living in the hemispheres.
And the result of that is a consistent, grinding energy deficit. The way out, according to this research, is accessing the mind, that third part.
Which contains an unlimited form of energy and the origin of true care.
Right. And this is done consciously through the structured practice of Kelee meditation, which helps pull the brain and brainstem out of that deficit energy usage.
It provides a clear, actionable goal. Stop the comparison, quiet the reaction, access the unlimited source. It's a direct map to energetic abundance.
Absolutely. So if the sources are right, the next time you feel physically and mentally drained at 3 p.m., even after a restful weekend, maybe consider this. Was that fatigue purely chemical? Or was it the cumulative cost of running the ego's action-reaction circuit and the intellect's comparison engine all morning?
Where is your energy truly going?
Exactly. Where is it going? And what immediate action could you take to consciously pause that deficit spending?
Something to ponder as you reclaim your energetic reserves. Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.